Coming up, hundreds of thousands without power and a rising death toll in the wake of Hurricane Ida. And firefighters rescue a woman from a burning home in southeast Kansas. And how did you celebrate the Labor Day weekend?
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. Well, Sunday was the perfect day to take your kids and your pets to the park or just get outside for the Labor Day weekend. Will we see more of that this week? Let's go to Michael for a look at the forecast.
How about a repeat performance today?
Nice.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, temperatures right now outside, we've seen as low as 55 degrees.
Nice.
Yeah, even with the afternoon warm-up, it's not going to be bad. Here's where we stand over 7th and Range Line in Joplin, a very comfortable 62 degrees. We still have some 50s we're hanging on to out there. 58 in Neodesha, 59 in Miami, a whole bunch of 62s running in Nevada, Lamar, and in Carthage. Skywatch storm tracker is as clear as you can get. Now, with that being said, do want to point out that we still do have flood warnings in effect for the Osage and Little Osage rivers through Vernon County running into Bourbon County there, a result of last week's rain, but the severe thunderstorm risk map going to cut us out of everything altogether. We'll be back up into the high 80s, couple low 90s, but very seasonable and very comfortable today with a whole lot of sunshine. Going to begin a string of some dry weather here. So any light showers that we were kind of hoping that would take care of any of our drought concerns, that will not be the case. And I know that sounds weird coming off of all the rain that we had last week, but remember, that mainly dominated the central and northern portion of the 4 states. People from the central to the south down, they didn't get a whole lot of rain, and certainly would like some. It looks like we're going to stay dry.
Yes.
Temperature's very mild though.
Would be nice. I'm liking the temperatures. Can't complain about that.
Hard to beat.
Of course, it'll get hot again on Saturday. Great.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Michael. Well, the death toll from Hurricane Ida continues to rise with 68 confirmed deaths and several still missing. More than 600,000 homes remain without power. Now, this comes as President Biden declared a major disaster in New Jersey on Sunday. The declaration will make federal funding available to state residents in 6 counties, allowing for grants for temporary housing and home repairs, low-cost loans, and other financial assistance. Volunteers returned to Carthage after almost a week helping those affected by Hurricane Ida. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky spoke with crew members on their relief efforts and how they feel to have made an impact after such a damaging event.
After a week of 12-plus-hour days spent restoring power to those following the devastation of Hurricane Ida, volunteer crews are returning home.
I mean, in an event like this where we have a hurricane, we have all of this forewarning, knowing that it's coming, and the level of the hurricane and the strength of it allows us to position people in a proper place, ready to go when it actually does hit land and cause the destruction. So we were ready to go.
Volunteers from Carthage Water and Electric Plant spent almost a week repairing storm damage caused by Ida.
We have, I think Carthage Water and Electric has 80 plus employees. And I think at any given moment we have 80 volunteers willing to go help and do their part. And for me, there's a great sense of pride in not only in our employees but our community that we're willing to help.
Most of their work was focused on rebuilding lines that were damaged or taken out by the storm.
We had a lot of broken poles, down poles. We had a lot of broken wire. We had trees that were down on top of lines, and so basically we were just rebuilding. The pole structures and the lines that the storm had taken out.
The team's lead foreman says even after working from 6 a.m. until 8 at night, there were times when people were still in need and their crew wanted to be of assistance.
We were pretty dehydrated and tired, and I remember a lady and her 2 kids rode up on a 4-wheeler and they just needed their power back on. So, we stayed and made sure that we got that back on. We were wanting to go home, but we stayed. That definitely made an impression on all of us.
Now, the company says they're extremely proud of their volunteers, providing these essential services to communities in need. In Carthage, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
The crews from Carthage worked alongside other area crews from Independence, Lebanon, Nixa, and Poplar Bluff. 7 Wichita firefighters headed to Louisiana over the weekend to assist with Hurricane Ida recovery efforts. A call was sent out Saturday requesting 30 engine companies to help with the relief efforts. Wichita is sending 2 engines and a strike team leader to help clean up the aftermath. Firefighters from Johnson County, Leawood, Lenexa, and Olathe will also be helping out. They're expected to be gone for 2 weeks. Officials respond to a house fire with someone still trapped inside. According to the Girard Police Department, around 10 Sunday morning, authorities were called to a house fire at 300 East Prairie Street in Girard for a report of a structure fire with a person still inside. When responders arrived on scene, they rescued 65-year-old Gayla Rinkins. She was transported to Girard Hospital. 39-year-old Samuel Rinkins was outside when the fire started. Officials say he suffered minor injuries and was also taken to Girard Hospital. The Kansas State Fire Marshal's office is assisting in the investigation. 2 of the industry's biggest poultry companies agreed to pay nearly $35 million to settle a lawsuit with chicken farmers. The suit accused both Tyson Foods and Purdue Farms, along with several other firms, of conspiring to dominate the industry and fix the prices paid to farmers who raise chickens. Tyson and Purdue agreed to the settlement last week without admitting any wrongdoing, while the lawsuit remains pending against several other industry giants, including Pilgrim's Pride, Koch Foods, and Sanderson Farms. Fort Scott National Historic Site brings history to life through its Labor Day celebrations. Over the weekend, the historic site held walking tours and a cannon demonstration. Fort Scott's Historic Site Project Manager says the staff is using the celebration to bring awareness to Labor Day's significance to the country.
We're celebrating Labor Day. Early 1900s, labor unions and the labor movement really came into play, but there has always been a division between management and labor as far as equitable pay for equitable work. And we're trying to bring all the different elements of that together.
The historic site's Labor Day events continue today, and visitors can learn more by going to their website. It's 5:07.
Sunny and warm for our Labor Day, beginning a string of dry weather that's going to carry us through most of the week. Temperatures aren't going to be too bad, and we'll get a whole lot of sunshine today in the outdoor activities you have, whether it be barbecuing with the family and friends, or as Tanya said, taking a trip out to the park. It's going to be absolutely perfect for it. Then as we're back to work and back to school, that's 190 on there, but middle of the week looking pleasant. Back into the 90s there for Friday and Saturday, but those chances for rain remaining oh so slight.
That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, Frontenac opens its season with a vengeance. Can they keep it up? Plus, how did you spend your holiday weekend? Was it a vacation or a staycation? That's our something to talk about. And COVID continues to take a toll across the nation. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Frontenac Raiders opened their season with a big 20-0 win over the Columbus Titans, albeit had to wait a little bit since that game actually wasn't finished until Saturday morning because of Mother Nature Friday night. Little revenge for Frontenac after the Titans won last year's matchup. Raiders defense kept the Titans off the board the entire game, and on offense, Justice Compton and Mario Mangini each had rushing touchdowns. Quarterback Colin McCartney connected with Aaron Doria to get the scoring going in the second. Here's Frontenac head coach Mark Smith on McCartney's playmaking ability.
It's huge. The big part is he kept his poise when that happened, and he just found the guys. The receivers did a good job getting open, and those were in some big situations, 3rd and long and stuff like that. So big plays gave us a lot of momentum, and it kind of led us to victory.
After Frontenac Columbus finished up on Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon brought a whole lot of exciting college football games. Oklahoma State Cowboys opening the season at home against the Missouri State Bears. OSU just outside the AP poll top 25. First quarter, Shane Illingworth to Tay Martin in the end zone, 5-yard touchdown. Then later, Oklahoma State going the other way. Jalen Warren, right up the gut. Cowboys lead 13-0. Then L.D. Brown, instead of going up the middle, he'll bounce it outside. Missouri State would battle back, but Oklahoma State holds on, gets their first win. Final score 23-16. Stay in the Sooner State as the Sooners open up against Tulane. Close one for the number 2 ranked team. Tulane actually the home team since this was scheduled to be in New Orleans, but because of Hurricane Ida was moved to Norman. Oklahoma holds off a charging Green Wave 40-35. Sooners score 3 touchdowns on the ground, 1 in the air. Spencer Rattler, 30 of 39 passing, 304 yards. Coffeyville opens up its season with 3 straight home games through the month of September. On Saturday, Red Ravens hosted a tough one in their first game. Coffeyville taking on defending national champs, the Hutchinson Blue Dragons. Third play of the game, Red Ravens fumble. Albert Nunez returns it 24 yards for a touchdown. 7-0 Blue D's at that point. Coffeyville finally gets on the board in the second, though. Brenyan Scott played a little defense of his own with the interception. That leads to a Corterius Wilson touchdown before the half. And Coffeyville comes back and beats the defending national champs. Red Ravens win it 17-10. Independence Pirates on the road for their season opener. They got to face Butler. This is a top 15 matchup. Indy with its first, and what a play this is, 3rd and 30. R.J. Walker's pass tipped to Reggie Williams. Williams hurdles a defender. Ho-ho! Keep going, Reggie. 44 yards for the touchdown. They compete the 2-point conversion up 8-0. 8-7, Walker keeps it this time, strolls into the end zone. 15-7 Independence. Second quarter, Walker swings it to Deontay Wilson. See ya. 54 yards to glory. 22-7 Independence. More on the ground from Walker. Dead leg ya. And then I'm just going to sprint past you. Walker, 203 rushing yards to go with 4 touchdowns in your living room. This kid's going to be fun to watch this year. Independence wins at 50-28. A little Major League Baseball action. Let's talk about Salvador Perez blasting 2 home runs in Saturday's contest. Told you he was going to get to 40. The first catcher since Javi Lopez in 2003 to reach the 40 home run mark. Sunday in Game 3 against the White Sox, do it again, big man. Home run number 41 for Perez. It's a 3-run blast. What a season. On the mound, Brady Singer strikes out 6, 7 shutout innings. Finally, Whit Merrifield with a single to shallow left brings in Edward Olivares as the Royals shut out the division-leading White Sox 6-0 and end up winning the series. Cardinals on the road, final game of the series against the Brewers. Cardinals were up 5-1 going into the bottom of the ninth. 5-1. Win probability 98.6%. Milwaukee scores 5 runs in the bottom of the ninth. It's completed with a walk-off grand slam for the Brewers as they win it 6-5. Tyler O'Neill goes 3 for 4 with 2 RBIs for the Cardinals. Still to come, dealing with the hurricane, the tropical storm, and the remnants of Hurricane Ida. Death tolls and power outages continue to rise after the deadly storm, and a check on our 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. Just touched past 5:17. Still a good time for weather on the 7s. Let's start with a live look over 7th and Rangeline. Very delightful beginning to our Labor Day morning. 62 degrees. Been a while since we had morning temperatures this low. Let's all sit back and enjoy it. That humidity, not too bad. Doesn't even factor in with our temperatures being what they are right now. 62, our dominant number there throughout southwest Missouri. Pick your poison. Lamar, Carthage, Neosho, and Nevada all sitting right there. We do see some 50s, high 50s in Parsons and Neodesha, and we'll throw Miami in at 59. You can tell the wind arrows just a little here, there, and everywhere, just kind of jaunting all around the board, but it's just 5 to 10 miles per hour. So it's really not playing any type of a role. Tell you what, the sky is clear as can be. That's with the satellite coverage on, but you got to look through some patchy fog before you get to the clear skies right there. We haven't had any visibility concerns, no dense fog advisories, but just know that if you're out and about pretty early in the morning, and we are seeing it in low-lying areas right now, really Midwest remaining on the dry side. Not a whole lot of action in the contiguous 48. Of course, we're going to be talking about Ida now that we've had 4 state volunteers return from helping a multitude of people out, and we're still seeing flooding concerns there along the East Coast. Speaking of flooding concerns, got to point out that we still have flood warnings for the Osage and the Little Osage River. River is expected to crest later on tonight, and then by the time Wednesday night rolls around, should be back down below flood stage. You're not going to pick up any additional water for our rivers, as we're going to stay on the dry side here really for most of the week. Do need to check on Hurricane Larry, because we're going to end up with major hurricane status here. Currently, Category 3, riptides are going to be the biggest thing for the Bahamas and the islands there as it moves through. Eventually, I do think we're going to see some type of tropical storm warnings there off the East Coast. I don't know if those will be elevated to hurricane warnings, but Larry's the one that we're keeping our eyes on right now. As far as our weather trend here in the 4 states, sunny skies up around the high 80s. We'll throw a low 90 up there every now and then. And as I mentioned, not a whole lot of shot for rain here. We're going to stay dry this entire week, which I know is not of much solace for those of you in the central and southern portions that failed to pick up any noticeable rain last week. Everybody up to the north is saying that will work. We need a little break. Time now to turn our attention to the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll. New concern that gatherings this Labor Day could kick off another COVID surge. Daily cases averaging 153,000 this week. That's the most we've seen since January. Lilia Luciano, she's in Santa Monica, California with the latest.
Summer is coming to an end, and with it, hopes of getting COVID under control. Nationally, cases topped 1 million this week, nearly 10 times the number of weekly cases from the 4th of July. And once again, the U.S. has the highest daily case count in the world. Still, millions are on the move this Labor Day weekend.
We're all vaccinated, so we feel comfortable hanging out together.
The CDC is urging those who skip their shots to skip holiday travel. Across the country, ICU wards are full again, most of the COVID patients unvaccinated.
Our choices today and over this weekend can help prevent the worst-case scenario for our healthcare system.
Nationally, COVID hospitalizations are 3 times higher than a year ago, with the number of children and teens in hospitals 5 times higher than when the summer began.
Hospitalizations are much lower among children in communities with higher vaccination rates. Vaccination works.
And the politics of the pandemic keep turning schools into battlefields.
You have a target on your back for enforcing unlawful orders.
An Arizona principal was targeted by 3 men holding zip ties and threatening to make a citizen's arrest over COVID restrictions.
We will continue to follow those guidelines and stay the course.
Our question to you this morning: what did you and your family decide to do for the Labor Day holiday? Let us know by going to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote or connect to us via Facebook. We'll be back with Healthwatch next.
Topping Healthwatch this morning, the U.S. is closing in on 650,000 deaths blamed on COVID-19. But officials say that's a number likely different and higher than reported. According to the CDC, the death tally is more likely closer to 750,000 here in the U.S. When analysis finds a handful of states, including Kansas, Georgia, and Wisconsin, have amended death certificates of those who died in January of 2020 to reflect COVID-19 as the cause. Previously known first COVID deaths were thought to be in February of last year. Emergency tents go up in Stillwater, Oklahoma as the area braces for new coronavirus cases. The tents were set up outside the Stillwater Medical Center as the city declared a state of emergency. Stillwater's mayor, Will Joyce, made the declaration ahead of Labor Day weekend, and actions were taken to ease medical center overflow pressure. Volunteer doctors, nurses, and technicians from the Medical Reserve Corps are assisting the treatment tents. Large crowds were expected in Stillwater as Oklahoma State University opened its football season at home Saturday night. As the Delta variant continues to spread, some COVID-19 hotspots are seeing record hospitalization numbers. With well over 100,000 new infections reported each day, cases are more than 10 times the levels of earlier in the summer. CBS's Deborah Alfarone reports from Washington.
In COVID-19 hotspots around the nation, the summer surge is not showing signs of letting up.
Our situation is dire. We are setting case records. We have a record number of Kentuckians in the hospital battling COVID, in the ICU battling for their lives.
The highly contagious Delta variant continues to fuel the surge, while only just over half of Americans are fully vaccinated. According to a CDC report released last week, COVID hospitalization rates for teenagers and children rose nearly 5 times from the end of June to mid-August.
You'll get more children infected. In fact, when they get infected, just on a pure basis of the relative number of people that will actually get into the hospital, you're going to wind up seeing more children in the hospital.
Dr. Anthony Fauci says the Biden administration may still meet its September 20th timeline of offering COVID booster shots, but the infectious diseases expert at the National Institutes of Health adds that the Moderna shot could see approval a bit later.
The bottom line is very likely at least part of the plan will be implemented, but ultimately the entire plan will be.
Despite the unrelenting pandemic, millions of Americans are traveling this Labor Day weekend. This California resident is visiting Las Vegas.
Wearing your mask, protecting yourself, cleaning your hands, it's all you can do because you never know.
The CDC recommended that unvaccinated Americans not travel on the holiday weekend. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, Washington.
Dr. Fauci says health officials are studying whether booster vaccines can be mixed and matched with the first Pfizer or Moderna doses people received. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
A delightful Labor Day in store. Sunny skies, temperatures, high 80s, a little south breeze. I mean, you can't beat it. Get outside, enjoy a wonderful holiday. Overnight, our temperature is going to dip back down into the 60s, just about a little bit warmer than what we're experiencing right now. We're actually hanging on to some high 50s here as we approach the 5:30 time period. As far as our 7-day forecast goes, it's going to be a dry week ahead. Temperatures, though, not too bad. Look at that, middle of the week, 84 and 87. We'll take it before the warm-up hits as we approach the weekend.
Coming up, hundreds of thousands without power and a rising death toll in the wake of Hurricane Ida. And firefighters rescue a woman from a burning home in southeast Kansas. Also, how did you celebrate the Labor Day weekend?
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:30. I'm Tanya Bach. We had a beautiful weekend and I'm looking forward to a beautiful week.
It's going to be a beautiful week. I just wanted to throw something at you here because I was doing a little historical data keeping. So if you go back to January 1, from our historical norm, Joplin Regional Airport rain total. I'll get there, Dylan. Hang on. Thank you. Joplin Regional Airport rain total, off 7/100ths of an inch.
Oh.
Right on par.
So close.
Right on par. Remember we talked about all that rain that dominated the northern portion of the 4 states last week? Chanute, 7.8 inches above normal. 7/100ths of a difference in Joplin. 7.8 inches difference in Chanute. That is crazy.
Huh.
I mean, that is out there. All right, Dylan, let's go to 7th and Range Line, my friend. There we go. We do have some light patchy fog this morning. Do not have any visibility problems, but want you to be apprised of that, especially if you're out and about early on this Labor Day. 62 degrees in Joplin. Very, very nice outside. 59, as a matter of fact, in Pittsburgh and Miami. 61 in Monette. And let's roll 64 in the aforementioned home of the Blue Comets, Chanute. Skywatch storm tracker is clear. Like I said, you just got to get above the fog to take a look at the stars and everything. Flood warnings for the Osage and Little Osage up in Vernon County, mainly, up all the way until Wednesday night. Afternoon planner going to put us up into the, say, high 80s. We may see a 90 creep in every now and then, but really, we're talking about great looking temperatures all the way through the week. Heat wave will resume. Going to be on us on Friday. But really Monday through Thursday, great looking temps, and it's going to be dry. That's great news for everybody up to the north, for everybody in the central and south. Sorry.
Glad I'm not in the south. No.
Nice thing is after Friday, we were able to squeeze in the majority of our 4-state events. So, I mean, It turned out well.
I mean, some of them were canceled or changed, and which actually wasn't even necessary when it turned out beautiful day.
Yep.
Yep, sure was. All right, thanks, Michael. Well, Little Balkans Days is back in Pittsburgh after last year's cancellation. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky checked it out and tells us how this festival's unique events differ from other fall festivals.
This Labor Day weekend, the city of Pittsburgh returns to its roots.
So we honor our ethic and immigrant heritage because Pittsburgh, Kansas and the Southeast Kansas area was an immigrant melting pot. So every Labor Day we celebrate that history, the coal mining history of the area.
The city does this with their annual Little Balkans Day Festival. The 3-day event showcases different cultures through music, art, food, and more.
So we have cooking demonstrations in Lincoln Park. We have all kinds of live music. The bagpipes are getting ready to start here. We'll have a folklife festival all day long with local color. JT Canola is the MC, where we'll have poetry readings, Slovenian music, polka music, country, bluegrass.
The bagpipes at this year's festival were played by Orrin Weiss, something he was shocked to be able to do.
I like Little Balkans. We've attended before. I never really thought that I'd be on the stage, though. My brother and sister were always the singers. But I play the bagpipes, and I guess that's what I'll be doing up there. But I'm excited to play here.
Saturday's festivities also included a dog show. One winner says she's proud of her pet, especially for learning new tricks as an older dog.
And then I was so proud of her because she learned all of those tricks super duper fast.
These types of events are uncommon for local festivals, something Little Balkan Days, which is in its 36th year, is proud of.
It's not your average fall festival. We have a full lineup tomorrow as well with a polka dance and a chicken dinner in the mall. We even brought back the original cookbook from 1985.
In Pittsburgh, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
Little Balkans Festival also brought out area nonprofits, one in particular, Gardens of the Children, a group of motorcyclists that work to prevent child abuse and educate the public to do the same. Organization's members act as mentors to abused children and offer protective and support services for them.
A lot of these children spend a lot of time anxious and afraid, and they just need to be let go. And you know, we'll have a dozen members around them. There's nothing to fear with us, and they can just go out and have a good time and be a child.
Guardians of the Children is also looking for new members. They meet the third Sunday of every month at the Holiday Inn in Pittsburgh. Popular farmers market wasn't the only thing bringing four-staters out to King Jack Park in Webb City over the weekend. Plenty of people were lining up to take a free trolley ride on historic streetcar number 60. Volunteers who keep the trolley in tip-top condition say it's been running since the early 70s. Went through a few different engines before Watco in Pittsburgh, Kansas stepped in to help.
Several years ago, Watco in Pittsburgh offered to put together the pushing unit that you see there, and they spent almost a year cutting that in two and building it in order to push the trolley around. So it's worked really well ever since, and we're much indebted to Watco.
If you missed Saturday's fun, you can catch the trolley at King Jack Park on Saturday the 18th. Free trolley rides are offered every first and third Saturday of the month. That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News, 2 local poultry industries settle lawsuits. Afghanistan continues to ignite controversy among politicians. First, it's 5:37.
Beautiful looking Labor Day with temperatures that are going to be in the high 80s. But really hasn't amounted to much. Our 7-day forecast, seasonable temps, even I'd say mild there on Wednesday and Thursday before the heat wave comes back and gets us for the weekend. World Watch is next.
John Deere is no.
Topping World Watch, the White House is still dealing with the fallout from the U.S. military's chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. David Spunt is traveling with the president and has the latest.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken is not pushing the panic button, at least publicly, telling Americans that may be stuck in Afghanistan, if you want to leave the country, the United States will help you. America's top diplomat, Blinken, will head to Doha, Qatar on Sunday, where he will meet with officials in Doha. The U.S. diplomatic corps that was based in Kabul is now in Doha. Blinken's team says the Secretary of State will not be meeting with Taliban officials.
we sent 19 separate notices to American citizens in Afghanistan, encouraging and then urging them to leave. Most of the remaining American citizens are dual nationals whose home is Afghanistan and whose extended families live there.
After a day trip to Louisiana to survey Ida damage, President Biden landed in Philadelphia late Friday night before taking Marine One to Wilmington, where he will spend the long weekend with family. He managed to escape the White House for the weekend, but the constant criticism of his decision to withdraw troops and ultimately not bring home all Americans continues to follow him.
He already kept his promise to the Taliban, he broke his promise to Americans, and he's continuing to break it because there are American citizens who are trying to get out of the country right now.
The president is doubling, tripling, even quadrupling down on his decision to remove all American troops from Afghanistan before the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks next week. In Wilmington, Delaware, with the president, David Spunt, Fox News.
A march by Afghan women demanding equal rights from their country's new government is brought to an abrupt halt on Saturday when Taliban forces fired their weapons into the air. This was the second demonstration for women's rights in Kabul in just 2 days. Demonstrators chanted slogans including, "You don't have legitimacy without women's rights." Protesters laid a wreath outside Afghanistan's defense ministry to honor former Afghan army personnel who died fighting the Taliban. The women then marched to the presidential palace. On Saturday, Gaza's ruling Hamas militant group launched more than a dozen incendiary balloons into Israel. Militants are apparently trying to increase pressure on Israel to end the blockade of their territory. Photos and videos posted online show masked Hamas-affiliated operatives holding pictures of Gaza residents who were killed fighting with Israeli forces. While the balloons have set off a series of wildfires in the past, there were no immediate reports of fire starting this time. Israel's new government has compared the balloon launches to rocket fire. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. Let's toss it over to Michael for something to talk about.
Thank you, Tanya. This morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll, well, Labor Day feels like it marks that summer coming to an end. And, well, our question to you, quite frankly, was with cases topping 1 million this week and nearly 10 times the number of weekly cases from the 4th of July, what are you and the fam doing over the Labor Day holiday? And right now, 94% of you saying, I'm going to stay put right here in the 4 states. And 6% of you working on this Labor Day. I got you. I understand. You can always take part by going to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote, or you can check in with us via our Facebook page as well. We'll be back with the news you need to know before you head out the door right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. The death toll from Hurricane Ida continues to rise with 68 confirmed deaths and several still missing. More than 600,000 homes remain without power. This comes as President Biden declares a major disaster in New Jersey on Sunday. The declaration will make federal funding available to state residents in 6 counties, allowing for grants for temporary housing and home repairs, low-cost loans, and other financial assistance. Carthage Water and Electric Plant distribution crews are back home after a week spent helping those affected by Hurricane Ida. The crews worked to restore the power grid along the Gulf Coast. They were joined in Southwest Mississippi by volunteers from Independence, Nixa, Lebanon, and others. Fire crews rescue a 65-year-old woman from a burning house in Girard Sunday. Police say the fire started around 10 a.m. When responders arrived on scene, they found 65-year-old Gayla Rinkins still inside. She was transported to Girard Hospital. 39-year-old Samuel Rinkins was able to get out on his own. Officials say he suffered minor injuries and was also taken to Girard Hospital. Kansas State Fire Marshal's office is assisting in the investigation. 2 of the industry's biggest poultry companies agreed to pay nearly $35 million to settle a lawsuit with chicken farmers. The suit accused both Tyson Foods and Perdue Farms, along with several other firms, of conspiring to dominate the industry and fix the prices paid to farmers who raise chickens. Tyson and Perdue agreed to the settlement last week without admitting any wrongdoing, while the lawsuit remains pending against several other industry giants, including Pilgrim's Pride, Koch Foods, and Sanderson Farms. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Our daily almanac on this Labor Day, September the 6th, indicates an average high of 86 degrees and Tell you what, it's going to be the first time in a long time where we will be able, promise they have me speak for a living, where we will be able to actually ride just about our average temps all the way into our next heat wave, which will be on us for the weekend. As we take a live look over 7th and Rangeline, no patchy fog emerging, of course, in our city areas, but you get out in low-lying agricultural areas, and we are running into just some light fog. It hasn't been anything to prompt a dense fog advisory, but I do want you to be aware of it if you're out and about early this morning. 60 is what it is in Pittsburgh compared to, we still have 59s and 58s hanging on in Miami, Parsons, and Neodesha, and 61 and 62s running through southwest Missouri, including Carthage and Neosho. Clean Skywatch storm tracker after you get above that fog. Remember, we've got 2 flood warnings we're hanging on to from all our rain from last week. That's for the Osage and Little Osage rivers. Hopefully by the time we get to Wednesday night, we can go ahead and have those expire. Nationally speaking, there's not a whole lot going on in the Midwest. Still have flooding concerns along the East Coast right there. Got a good bout of activity that actually runs, look at this, in some form or fashion. Runs from Texas all the way to the southeast, and it doesn't really cut off until you get up into New England. And so while it's not one elongated band, it is pretty interesting how far that's able to stretch. We've got Hurricane Larry, Category 3, and this biggest thing right now will be riptides and currents for the Bahamas, the Bermudas, the Lesser Antilles. This thing's about 700 miles away from Miami as a crow flies right now, and if we continue its track, it keeps that hurricane force, and so eventually you're going to have some tidal concerns there along the East Coast here later this week. All right, back to what we were talking about with seasonable temperatures. It's going to be absolutely great today as we're going to be able to roll the mid-80s. It's going to be a dry week, too, on the 7-day forecast. Not a whole lot of rain action, which is good for everybody up to the north. Sorry for those of you down to the south that didn't really get a whole lot of rain last week. But look at this, everything from high 80s to mid 80s, and then that heat wave gets us on Friday. We'll be back right after this.
A spelling mistake lands an Illinois woman in a Hawaiian jail. Jeannie Moose reports on how a vaccination card tipped off the authorities.
We're all used to hearing
Moderna
and
Moderna vaccines.
So when screeners saw this on a proof of vaccination card, Moderna, it wasn't just a linguistic tick.
You like tomato and I like tomato.
Moderna helped land 24-year-old Chloe Mrozak in jail for several days for falsifying her vaccination record. On Wednesday, she was released on her own recognizance. She presented the card as she flew into Honolulu for a Hawaiian vacation. At the airport, she got through the safe travel screening process. But when her information was more closely checked, officials spotted Moderna and other irregularities. The card said she was vaccinated in Delaware, but Delaware had no such record. Mrozak was arrested at the airport when she tried to leave Saturday. They used a tattoo on her Facebook page to help identify her. Her attorney had no comment when CNN contacted him. She tried to McLovin Hawaii, someone tweeted, a reference to fake ID in the movie Superbad.
Wait, you changed your name to McLovin?
I am McLovin.
Social media was McLovin the misspelling Moderna, pointing out other bloopers like drop the mandates. Imagine how she would have spelled Pfizer. Only partially visible at Wednesday's hearing, she was tearful.
I promise, I will do it whatever it takes. I swear I'm not a bad person.
The card said she'd gotten injected by Corporal Wolf and Sergeant Monty, apparently from the National Guard. But the letters NRA had people thinking of the National Rifle Association. They are very experienced with shots. Moderna is literally what my grandma Dorothy called Madonna in the 80s. But Mrozak's holiday was shot thanks to that Moderna vaccination card. Jeannie Moose, CNN, New York.
Conversation yesterday afternoon about fake IDs from Hawaii. And folks, I did not know Tanya was going to run that story.
Well, hers was in Illinois. She's an Illinois woman who said she got vaccinated in Delaware. And
You know she's not the only one doing this, though. She just got caught, and Jeannie could have fun with her story. I mean, that's she's not the only one that tried this, but it's so perfect that it came out of Hawaii. I mean, you can't. And because McLovin has to be the first thing that comes to everybody's mind when you think about a fake Hawaii license.
There you go.
McLovin?
You gotta be McLovin it.
Hey, Tanya, you can always jump on the KOAM News Now Instagram page because that's where we're keeping all of our daily forecasts that you can find on the Skywatch weather app, downloadable for free on all your mobile devices. And, of course, we're still putting them on Facebook as well. Go to @MichaelHayslip, KOAM, because we got ourselves a perfect-looking Labor Day. Flip on over to the KOAM News Now Facebook page for our Something to Talk About this morning. Our question, what are you doing for Labor Day? Well, with the recent outbreak and numbers being greater than they were for the 4th of July, right now 96% of you say, nah, we're just going to stay at home. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. We'll be back right after this. Got a great looking Labor Day ahead of us after sunrise here in we'll say about 6:43. Then we're going to just be able to sit back and enjoy nice, dry, and seasonable temperatures all the way through the end of the week before that heat wave, that's going to come get us here beginning on Friday.
Coming up, hundreds of thousands without power and a rising death toll in the wake of Hurricane Ida. And firefighters rescue a woman from a burning home in southeast Kansas. Also, we want to know, how did you celebrate your Labor Day weekend?
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. We had a beautiful Labor Day weekend and I'm hoping it'll continue on throughout the week.
Beautiful Labor Day as well. Yeah, we're going to rinse and repeat today. It's going to be great. Coming off of 86s. Is where we topped out at Joplin Regional Airport on Saturday and Sunday. I think we'll be just a tad bit warmer, but we're going to avoid those mid-90s that we see at the beginning there of September. So what we have is, I was going to say 53, but then I caught myself. 6:54 is sunrise over Joplin right now. 53 minutes away is what I meant to say. So 6:54 is when we'll officially have sunrise over Joplin on this holiday morning, and it's going to be gorgeous. We've seen a little dip in the temperature. Look at that, Joplin down to 61 degrees right now, and still holding on to some high 50s in Pittsburgh and Miami and Fort Scott, that central line. Southwest Missouri has been consistently about 61, 62, not a wide variety, but it's been a long time since we've been able to say we've had that many 50s on the board. A clean Skywatch storm tracker do have some patchy fog in low-lying areas. It hasn't really affected any visibility. No fog advisories nor anything like that. Flood warning for the Osage and Little Osage rivers, though, that last all the way into Wednesday evening. As far as what we've got on our weather trend for today, it's going to be up into the high 80s. We may see a 90 down to the south, but that's about it. And we're going to be dry here, which I know everybody up to the north is absolutely loving coming off of what we had last week. People down south are saying, hey, we could use just a little bit of rain. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on where you are, it is going to be a dry 7-day forecast. But the nice thing is it's not going to be stifling nor oppressive. Temperature is going to be very, very seasonable all the way until Friday. Heat wave. Weekend heat wave. Coming at you.
Well, we get a little break. That's good.
I mean, the holiday all the way through Thursday is really it's hard to beat.
All right, we'll take that. All right, thanks, Michael. Officials respond to a house fire with someone still trapped inside over the weekend. According to the Girard Police Department, around 10 Sunday morning, authorities were called to a house fire at 300 East Prairie Street in Girard for a report of a structure fire with a person still inside. When responders arrived on scene, they rescued 65-year-old Gayla Rinkins. She was transported to Girard Hospital. 39-year-old Samuel Rinkins was outside when the fire started. Officials say he suffered minor injuries and was also taken to Girard Hospital. Kansas State Fire Marshal's office is assisting in the investigation. Two of the industry's biggest poultry companies agreed to pay nearly $35 million to settle a lawsuit with chicken farmers. The suit alleged both Tyson Foods and Perdue Farms, along with several other firms, of conspiring to dominate the industry and fix the prices paid to farmers who raise chickens. Tyson and Perdue agreed to the settlement last week without admitting any wrongdoing, while the lawsuit remains pending against several other industry giants, including Pilgrim's Pride, Koch Foods, and Sanderson Farms.
So this is what it's like.
68 people are now confirmed dead after Hurricane Ida pounded the U.S. from the Gulf all the way up the Atlantic coast. Most of those deaths were in the Northeast. Around 500,000 people in Louisiana are still without power. Elise Preston has the latest on the cleanup effort and how the federal government is stepping up its help.
So this is what it's looking like right here.
Millions from the Gulf Coast to the Northeast continue to dry out and clean up from Ida's wrath, picking up the pieces after the destructive storm left countless families homeless.
Hopefully we get started and get this clean. We're going to take one day at a time.
Politicians in New Jersey and New York are looking days ahead. The Northeast saw months worth of hard rain in just a couple of hours.
In my mind, after what I witnessed firsthand, and the lives we lost, I'm operating on the assumption that this could happen again in another 10 days. Are we prepared for this to happen again in 10 more days?
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is calling on Congress to address global warming and build stronger infrastructure that can handle flooding.
Ida took no prisoners politically. Red states were affected, blue states were affected, purple states were affected. Global warming and the havoc it wreaks knows no political boundaries.
Help is on the way. President Biden toured the devastation along the Gulf Coast Friday, promising federal funds to the recovery. Just yesterday, he also approved a disaster declaration for New Jersey. Elise Preston, CBS News, New York.
President Biden will tour parts of New Jersey and New York on Tuesday. In the South, Entergy, which provides power to New Orleans and other areas, says some homes and businesses may remain in the dark until the end of the month. Carthage water and electric plant distribution crews are back home after a week spent helping those affected by Hurricane Ida. The crews worked to restore the power grid along the Gulf Coast. They were joined in by Southwest Mississippi by volunteers from Independence, Nixa, Lebanon, and others. And one volunteer says the experience made a lasting impression.
We were pretty dehydrated and tired, and I remember a lady and her two kids rode up on a four-wheeler, and they just needed their power back on. So, we stayed and made sure that we got that back on. We were wanting to go home, but we stayed. That definitely made an impression on all of us.
Local crews were stationed throughout Mississippi and Louisiana. 7 Wichita firefighters headed to Louisiana over the weekend to assist with Hurricane Ida recovery efforts. A call was sent out Saturday requesting 30 engine companies to help with the relief efforts. Wichita is sending 2 engines and a strike team leader to help clean up the aftermath. Firefighters from Johnson County, Leawood, Lenexa, and Olathe will also be helping out. They're expected to be gone for about 2 weeks. 6:07.
This kind of weather to get out this morning and enjoy an early holiday morning right now, because it's some of the coolest temperatures that we've seen in a long time, with those 50s dotting the board, and it's very, very nice. Now we do have some patchy fog holding on, more so for low-lying areas. Really, if I show you the visibility map, you'd be like, big deal, because everything's showing up as 9s and 10s. And that's because it really is just the low-lying areas. I was looking at 7th and Rangeline here. You wouldn't even think about the word fog, so it's not too bad. Weather trend for today, a whole lot of sunshine. Temperatures up into the high 80s, very seasonable. And then overnight, we're going to go back down to the 60s, which is not a bad thing. We're going to be dry on the 7-day forecast all the way into the weekend. Speaking of the weekend, you will notice a big difference in our temperatures on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So take advantage of the next 4 days and wonderful afternoons and evenings, wonderful mornings for that matter, because once Friday hits, it's about to get hot again.
Yeah, at least we'll have a great Labor Day.
Labor Day is great, yeah. No, it's shaping up to be awesome today.
I like it. All right, thanks, Michael. That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, bye-bye benefits.
Enhanced unemployment benefits expire for millions of Americans today. I'm Elise Preston with a look at how this comes amid a COVID surge.
Plus, healthcare workers deal with COVID and depression. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. In Consumer Watch this morning, many businesses are looking for new employees, including driving schools. But as Sophia Periconi reports, one school in Las Vegas says if they can't hire new instructors soon, they won't be able to help drivers get on the road.
Connor Hull says it took him months to get into driving classes because of instructor shortages. He now believes this will impact safety on the roads if schools continue to struggle to hire.
We advertise everywhere to get instructors. We're in desperate need.
Kathy Kelly, co-owner of Safeway Driving School, says driving schools aren't immune to the employee shortages that thousands of businesses are facing. She believes extended COVID-19 benefits, which end Saturday, are stopping her from hiring and keeping instructors.
We've had 14, and now we're down to like 3.
It's becoming an issue new drivers are starting to feel. New student Connor Hull says it took him 2 months to even schedule classes.
With how hard it is to, get in, how hard it was for me to get in, I'm actually lucky to even have the dates that I have to, do the driving on the roads and be able to learn all this stuff.
And Kelly says finding instructors is about to get even harder. Typically, new teachers are required to take 30 hours of driver's ed classes plus 5 hours behind the wheel. Starting September 1st, Kelly says the DMV is changing that.
DMV would like some type of certificate stating that they have done some type of instruction anywhere, and I guess in any profession.
If they don't show proof of any type of certification, the training goes from 35 hours total to 115.
Is anybody going to wait that long to be employed, once they start, if they ever come back to work?
As of right now, even before the changes go into effect, Safeway doesn't have enough instructors to get new students in until the middle of November. Connor says his girlfriend is one of those waiting, but he's using his luck to help her in the meantime.
With me helping try to, do this, I can also help them learn a little bit, be able to prepare them for the driver's test.
But while he tries to do his part until more people can get on the books, he's concerned about the long-term effects of instructor shortages and what it'll mean for the safety of the rest of the valley on the roads.
We definitely need to be able to understand what it's like to drive on the roads, be able to pass on knowledge of how to properly be safe on the roads.
Kelly also believes that ever since businesses reopened, the roads have become more dangerous, which is why she feels like she needs to hire even more instructors as soon as possible.
That's it for Consumer Watch. We'll be right back.
One of Hollywood's most powerful unions has a new leader, and Showtime showcases a new family drama. Anthony Pura with our eye on entertainment.
Jeff Daniels stars as a conflicted small-town Pennsylvania police chief in the new Showtime drama series American Rust.
This case is poisoning my town.
Based on the novel, American Rust follows the chief as he works to solve a murder while protecting the son of the woman he loves. Maura Tierney co-stars. American Rust officially premieres on Showtime September 12th, but you can watch the first episode now for free on Showtime.com and YouTube. The new Princess Diana biopic, Spencer, has received a warm reception at the Venice Film Festival. Kristen Stewart plays the troubled princess.
I feel like everyone feels like they know her, because that is her talent. And it's what's beautiful about her, is that she's accessible, and you feel like you're friends with her, you feel like she's your mother. But ironically, she was the most unknowable person.
Spencer arrives in theaters November 5th. Dwayne Johnson, Ryan Reynolds, and Gal Gadot play an FBI agent, con artist, and thief in the upcoming action thriller Red Notice.
You want to arrest me? Arrest me.
But making the arrest isn't as straightforward as it appears. Red Notice comes to Netflix November 12th. And the union that represents actors has a new leader. Actress Fran Drescher is replacing 90210 star Gabrielle Carteris as SAG-AFTRA president. Drescher ran on a platform of positivity and optimism. That's your eye on entertainment. Anthony Pura, CBS News, Los Angeles.
I hope I'm not the only one that every time I see Fran Drescher, I just immediately think of her character in The Nanny and that infectious laugh. That was something else. Skywatch Storm Tracker Daily Almanac for the September 6th. Average high 86 degrees, and guess what? We're going to be right there, just a little bit above. What a gorgeous start. Over 7th and Rangeline right there. Officially, sunrise over Joplin taking place at 6:54, but we're getting a number of hues up in the September sky that makes it look absolutely gorgeous. 61 degrees is where we stand. So not only is it gorgeous, but it's comfortable as all get out. We're even seeing 50s still on the board. 59 in Parsons, Pittsburgh, and Miami. A whole bunch of 60s and 61s in southwest Missouri, including Carthage, Monette, and Neosho. Considerably cooler than our mornings over the weekend. As a matter of fact, we're seeing anywhere from about a 5 to 11 degree difference from what we had yesterday. Now, up in the northern portion, northwest portion, Iola, Chanute, Yates Center, not a whole lot of difference. But then as you dip down to the south, it's 11 degrees cooler right now in Grove, 9 degrees cooler in Anderson than what it was all on Sunday morning. Clear Skywatch Storm Tracker. We do have some patchy fog, and we also have flood warnings for the Osage and Little Osage rivers lasting until Wednesday evening. The contiguous 48 remaining relatively quiet, except on the East Coast, where there's a pretty good storm system. And if we track this thing back, you know, it's not consistent, but it does last all the way into portions of East Texas. Now, we're cut out of the severe thunderstorm risk map. We have no worries. We are going to be keeping track of Larry, now a Category 3 hurricane, about 1,800 miles as the crow flies off the coast of Miami. And through the course of the week, will cause some concerns as far as tides go along the East Coast. Here in the 4 states, highs in the high 80s today. We'll see a 90 every now and then, but it's going to be pretty scarce. Speaking of scarce, rain will be scarce as well, as we have a dry 7-day forecast, but very manageable temperatures until the heat wave comes this weekend. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News and Healthwatch next.
Topping Healthwatch this morning, a British study suggests there's an urgent need to identify, support, and treat healthcare workers for significant mental health issues brought on by the coronavirus pandemic. Researchers estimate up to 58% of frontline health and social care workers in the UK suffered anxiety, depression, or PTSD after the first wave of the pandemic. Almost 5 million children have been diagnosed with COVID-19 since the pandemic began. Cases and hospitalizations are increasing significantly in kids as the Delta variant surges. And now the American Academy of Pediatrics is launching a new campaign encouraging parents to get eligible children protected. Anthony Pura reports.
The Alegrias are always on the go. With 14-year-old Greg and 13-year-old Liam in sports and other activities, the teens got the COVID vaccine the first day they were eligible.
My parents are in their 80s. And we wanted to spend time with them. My one son was going to camp for a month, and my other son was going on a backpacking trip. And they both wanted to be able to go do those things with confidence.
I want to do the vaccine so life could be more normal, I guess.
Are we there yet? The American Academy of Pediatrics is launching a campaign urging parents to vaccinate their children and encouraging them to talk to their pediatrician about concerns.
In adolescents ages 12 and up, in the trials, it showed 100% efficacy. So I think parents should feel really reassured that the vaccine will help keep their children healthy. It'll help keep them well.
The Delta variant is spreading among the unvaccinated, including kids. Nearly 204,000 tested positive in 1 week, levels not seen since winter. Children now account for 22% of cases.
Children are less likely to get severe illness, but they can still get very, very ill. The risks of getting COVID are significantly greater than the risks of the vaccine.
To date, 9.3 million children are fully vaccinated, about 46% of 16 and 17-year-olds and 37% of 12 to 15-year-olds.
It doesn't hurt at all either. My kids have been getting vaccines since they were babies. I put my faith in the doctors then, and I don't know why anyone wouldn't now.
This mom is grateful they're protected and doing their part to protect others. Anthony Pura, CBS News.
The vaccine is not yet available to children under 12 years old. Data on the safety and effectiveness of the vaccine in children 5 to 11 is expected as soon as this month. Warmer weather may worsen a patient's COPD. European researchers analyzed data from 1,200 current and former smokers in the U.S. with the condition. Scientists concluded those exposed to hotter weather suffered exacerbated symptoms within 2 days of the rise in temperatures. Well, too much time on your hands may be just as bad as not having enough. A study of 22,000 Americans reveals as an individual's free time increases, so does their well-being. But that levels off at around 2 hours and starts to decline after 5 hours, leaving people unhappy. Researchers suggest those with too much extra time find activities that give them purpose. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Hey, get outside and take advantage of what's going to be a gorgeous Labor Day, as we're going to be up into the high 80s. Not going to be oppressively hot. Humidity won't be too bad, and a whole lot of sunshine. It's a dry 7-day forecast. At least our temperatures aren't too bad until we get to the weekend, and we've got a little mid-September heat wave that's going to hit us. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
Coming up, hundreds of thousands without power and a rising death toll in the wake of Hurricane Ida. Firefighters rescue a woman from a burning home in southeast Kansas. Also, how did you celebrate the Labor Day weekend?
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:30. I'm Tanya Bach. Well, our Labor Day weekend was definitely beautiful weather-wise. Hopefully we can continue that on this week.
Labor Day is not going to disappoint. Thank you for being up with us. Grab that cup of coffee here and take a gander out to the east of your abode right now, because it is absolutely glorious. Look at this sunrise that we're experiencing over Joplin right now, and our temperatures are wonderful. 61 degrees for early September. That is hard to beat right there. Now, we've been talking about the patchy fog, and to give you an idea there, we do not have any dense fog advisories, but outside of Television City, it has been pretty thick all morning long. Not too bad there in Joplin, but I want everybody to be apprised of that in case you got an early morning trip. If you do, I'll roll down the windows and enjoy it, because our temperatures range anywhere from a whole bunch of 59s in southeast Kansas and northeast Oklahoma to 61 and 62s in southwest Missouri, and a clear Skywatch storm tracker. Just got to get above the fog to look at that beautiful sunrise. Do want to point out 2 flood warnings still in effect for the Osage and Little Osage rivers in Vernon County, Missouri, lasting until Wednesday night. Contiguous 48, relatively quiet, minus more flooding going on there on the East Coast, but the Midwest remains very, very quiet as temperatures are going to creep up into the high 80s later on today. Plenty of sunshine and pretty dry 7-day forecast as well. We are not going to have any of that afternoon or evening rain pop up. Reason being, our temperatures being so mild, not a whole lot of instability. That's going to change a little bit there on Friday. That's when the heat wave comes back and gets us, so really take advantage of great Monday through Thursday temperatures.
Yeah, you can't complain about those.
No, not at all. This is wonderful for this time of year.
How about
we knew that secondary heat wave was going to come back eventually in mid-September.
How about the humidity?
Not bad at all.
Okay.
We're sitting at 86% right now. High dew point. No, it's just the grass is wet right now. You know, when your temperatures are high 50s, low 60s, you throw up humidity 86%, you don't notice it.
Yeah, only in the 4 states where you can say 86% is not bad humidity.
Not bad at all. But that fog is indicative of that high humidity, and that's why we're experiencing it right now. But I think the fog is going to be gone here by, say, 8:30.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Michael. Well, officials respond to a house fire with someone still trapped inside. According to the Girard Police Department, around 10 Sunday morning, authorities were called to a house fire at 300 East Prairie Street in Girard for a report of a structure fire with a person still inside. When responders arrived on scene, they rescued 65-year-old Gayla Rinkins. She was transported to Girard Hospital. 39-year-old Samuel Rinkins was outside when the fire started. Officials say he suffered minor injuries and was also taken to Girard Hospital. The Kansas State Fire Marshal's office is assisting in the investigation. 2 of the industry's biggest poultry companies agreed to pay nearly $35 million to settle a lawsuit with chicken farmers. The suit accused both Tyson Foods and Purdue Farms, along with several other firms, of conspiring to dominate the industry and fix prices paid to farmers who raise chickens. Tyson and Purdue agreed to the settlement last week without admitting any wrongdoing, while the lawsuit remains pending against several other industry giants, including Pilgrim's Pride, Koch Foods, and Sanderson Farms. Well, this Labor Day weekend, a local historical site takes us back in time and tells us the importance of observing the holiday. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky explains how a cannon demonstration was used to explain labor through the eyes of those from the 1800s.
This Labor Day weekend, 4-staters have an opportunity to be transported back in time.
We're celebrating Labor Day. Early 1900s, labor unions and the labor movement really came into play, but there has always been a division between management and labor as far as equitable pay for equitable work.
The Fort Scott National Historic Site wanted to educate the public about the meaning behind Labor Day.
So it's bringing all these stories to light and letting the visitors that come here understand what happens and help them to decide.
Which included walking tours around the site.
You get to see all the different areas where people worked and where people congregated, everything from where they cooked to where the officers lived and worked to where we have the artillery.
The last demonstration of the day was a cannon used to show the labor of the fort.
The Dragoons here at Fort Scott had a cannon. Here it was mainly here for ceremonial purposes, but we usually, on the weekends when we have reenactments, try to fire it. It's very popular, usually have nice crowds to see it go boom.
Ultimately, the historic site's goal was to show how important the fort is to American history. And while it has no official ties to the labor movement, the labor happening at the fort wasn't part of unionized work, but was still through the military and federal government.
It's the labor involved behind that, the support. No activity can happen without support of the labor movement.
In Fort Scott, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
The historic site's festivities will continue today as well. The popular farmers market wasn't the only thing bringing 4-staters out to King Jack Park in Webb City this weekend. Plenty of people lined up to take a free trolley ride on historic streetcar number 60. Volunteers who keep the trolley up in tip-top condition say it's been running since the early 70s and went through a few different engines before Watco in Pittsburgh, Kansas stepped in to help.
Several years ago, Watco in Pittsburgh offered to put together the pushing unit that you see there, and they spent almost a year cutting that in two and building it in order to push the trolley around. So it's worked really well ever since, and we're much indebted to Watco.
If you missed Saturday's fun, you can catch the trolley at King Jack Park on Saturday the 18th. Free trolley rides are offered every first and third Saturday of the month. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News. Moderna submits its booster study results to the FDA. Plus, how did you and your family spend Labor Day weekend? We want you to weigh in, but first it's 6:37.
Look at our fog outside Television City. No dense fog advisories in effect, but gives you an idea that if you're out and about, remember headlights, low beams, and a lot of room between you and other drivers. Beautiful Labor Day, whole bunch of sunshine, high 80s. Going to ride very seasonable, if not mild temperatures into the weekend before the heat wave gets us on Friday. Be back with Nation Watch next.
Topping Nation Watch, millions are facing uncertainty this week as some unemployment benefits expire. It comes as COVID-19 surges across the country, putting a strain on hospitals. CBS's Elise Preston has the latest.
Jobless benefits for millions of Americans are running out today. Some key federal programs put into place at the start of the pandemic are expiring. That includes a $300 a week boost in unemployment checks. It has many concerned about how to pay the bills.
My inner voice is me yelling, screaming, trying to be like, what I'm going to do, what I'm going to do, what I'm going to do.
On Friday, the Labor Department announced the economy added 235,000 jobs in August, well below Wall Street expectations. Restaurants and bars actually lost 42,000 jobs.
In this business, you're always hiring.
Francois Paradise has struggled to fill empty positions at his Minneapolis cafe.
After the unemployment support is going to dwindle, Well, some are going to readjust what their income is, what their needs, and they may come out.
But potential employees have concerns about COVID-19. Cases have jumped more than 1,000% since July 4th.
The idea of being close to hundreds of strangers a day, even while being vaccinated, that's not something that appeals to me in any way.
Health experts say the hardest hit are the unvaccinated.
Our inpatient units are at capacity.
St. Luke's Regional Medical Center in Idaho is overwhelmed by the surge.
It's so disheartening that these families are so sad and they all ask, well, what could I have done?
62% of Americans 12 and older are fully vaccinated. Elise Preston, CBS News.
Dr. Anthony Fauci told CBS's Face the Nation that widespread booster shots of the Pfizer vaccine could start in 2 weeks. An extra dose of Moderna may be delayed because federal regulators need more data. But Moderna says it has finished submitting its data on COVID-19 vaccine booster doses to the FDA. The company made the announcement on Twitter Friday. FDA will use the data to evaluate Moderna's vaccine for booster shots. An FDA panel is scheduled to meet to address the boosters on September 17th. That's a look at today's top national stories. Let's check back in with Michael for our Something to Talk About.
This morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll as summer comes to an end, Labor Day kind of signifying that. There's also hopes of getting COVID under control, but nationally, cases topped 1 million this week. Put that into perspective, that's nearly 10 times the number of weekly cases that we had from the 4th of July weekend. Once again, the U.S. has the highest daily case count in the world. Millions on the move this Labor Day weekend. Last week, the CDC urging those who skip their shots to skip holiday travel. That brings us to our Something to Talk About on the morning Insta poll. What did you and your family decide to do this Labor Day holiday? 94% of you say 4 states, we call it home. We're going to stay right here. Hopefully you're able to enjoy some time with family and friends on this gorgeous Labor Day. 3% of you are staying local. And 3% of you, hey, you're with me. You're working. I get you. We'll make the most of it, right? 0% of you, nobody's chimed in saying travel. Of course, you can make your voice heard each and every morning. KOAMnewsnow.com/vote or connect to us via our Facebook page. We'll be back. Celebrate birthdays and anniversaries right after this.
We take this time to honor a World War II veteran, George Lewis, who served in the U.S. Army from 1944 to 1946. Carthage, Missouri native, fought in Germany and received 2 Purple Hearts. We salute Staff Sergeant George Lewis, our 4th state hero.
The birthday list begins with Lawson Schropp. With a smile like that, my goodness, kiddo. A big happy 4th birthday to Lawson in Frontenac. He got a heck of a haircut there, too. Look at that.
Oh, what a cutie.
Yeah, good. That's a good-looking haircut, man. Don't ask me why I just sounded like John Gruden right there. That's a good-looking haircut there, man.
And up next, we have Kennedy Dooley.
Look at that.
Aww. Kennedy is 4 years old. Looks like she has her arms full. She's in Columbus.
Over the weekend, Anna Bonwit celebrated her 8th birthday. Love the hat, Anna Bon. And I want you to know that, excuse me, Anna Bonwit. And I want you to know these birthday wishes come with love from Mom, Austin, Abby, and Aunt Katie.
And in Erie, Kansas, Keaton Carnall turning 9 years old this year. Happy birthday to you.
In the Berg, Kane C, Purple Dragon Pride, celebrating the big number 14. Happy birthday, Kane.
Wow, already 14 years old. Happy birthday, Kane. And a happy 15th birthday going out to Tyrell Humble.
Roland Miles Whitchurch, he is celebrating his 15th birthday. Roland is in Jasper, and Mr. Whitchurch, I want you to know that this comes with love from Grandma.
All right. In Seneca, Missouri, Tyler Meyer celebrating sweet 16.
We've got a 20th birthday for Charlie Riker. The big 2-0 is celebrated in Columbus, and the nice catch to go with it. Well done, Charlie.
All right, and celebrating birthday number 26, we have Monica Clark in Columbus.
Zach Trim, he also has a 26th birthday. Zach, a very happy birthday to you in Thayer.
And let's see, Parsons, Kansas, turning the big 5-0 this year, John Alloway.
All right, we got pair of 55s, and there's a reason it's a pair of them. Because it's the Mercer Twins, and we will start with Rex. Rex, I'm not sure if you're the oldest one, but your birthday picture goes first. If not, you can take it up with your brother Randy. And a happy birthday to both Rex and Randy. Once again, they are turning 55 in Columbus.
All right. And if Rex and Randy. And we've got a 24th anniversary coming up today in Oswego. The Dryleens celebrating 24 years. Tyler and Holly, congratulations.
And this kid, he's part of our extended family. His name is Jagger Wilson as he celebrates the big number 4. He happens to be the youngest son of our marketing consultant, Zach Wilson. Jagger, I hope you have I bet you're growing up with the same sense of humor that your dad has. And so a very happy birthday to Jagger.
All right, Denise Hodgson celebrating birthday number 69 this year. Denise is in Columbus. Anna Klein turning 74 years old in Crestline and in Pittsburgh.
What up, JJ?
Happy birthday, JJ. JJ Carlinger turning 41 years old.
Wrap it up with Simi Peacock. Simi, a very happy birthday to you, celebrating in Miami. A happy birthday and happy anniversary to all. Here's where you can send them into. Birthdays at KOAMTV.com. You can also do it via our website, KOAMNewsNow.com. Now here's Tanya Bach with a very important birthday announcement.
All right.
You want me to do it?
No.
I'll ad-lib it. You can sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today. All you have to do is go to KOAMNewsNow.com. And once again, we've got Price is Not Fabulous. We've got wonderful offers for you on there. Sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club. Take about 30 seconds of your time. So when you submit one, make sure that you can become part of our birthday club as well. Let's transition to our daily planner, let's go our daily almanac first. We'll get to the daily planner. You know that's coming up down the road. Average high today of 86 will be just a skosh above that. Look at that high dating back to 1954 where we got up to 101 degrees. A couple things I wanted to point out about our precipitation. Let's start at Joplin Regional Airport. Go back to January 1. We were off 7/100ths of an inch. That's it from our historical average. 7/100ths of an inch. So, I mean, it's been an average year, precipitation, right? Well, that's at Joplin Regional Airport. If we talk about what it is at Chanute right now, Chanute, 7.8 inches above the average. 7.8 inches. It has truly been a year where the north central to northern portion of the 4 states, specifically northwest, southeast Kansas, has seen the majority of our rain. And we were talking about almost, it didn't feel, at one point in time, it was historical in nature last year. And now we're actually seeing the rain accumulation exceed that of last year for our northwest places such as Iola, Chanute, Neodesha, etc. Beautiful start though, over 7th and Rangeline right there as our temperature's delightful, 61 degrees, can't beat it. Great morning, take dogs out for a walk, get out, enjoy some fresh air. Now we do have some patchy fog, but it's really let up here and say, past half an hour or so. So no dense fog advisories and really no visibility issues, but I do want you to be wary of it if you're going to go through some low-lying areas this morning. Here's a look at temperatures along the 4 states. We're as low as 58 right now in Oswego and as high as 62 in Neosho and in Carthage. Well, that's 63. We've got a 63 now in Chanute, 59 in both Miami and in Pittsburgh, and a clean Skywatch storm tracker after you get above that patchy fog. We still do have 2 flood warnings for the Osage and Little Osage, dating back to our rain from last week, but hopefully the river crests later on this evening, and then after that the water should recede and we can let those expire Wednesday night, if not sooner. Contiguous 48, looking pretty calm, minus some thunderstorm activity that's going to last from the southwest all the way along the Gulf Coast and then make its way up to the mid-Atlantic. Now, they don't have any flood warnings left from Ida for the Northeast. Of course, they still do here in portions of Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. And then once you get into big sky country, this is not good. This is not good at all, because that's a red flag warning. They've got the multitude of wildfires that they're in the midst of fighting right now. And later on this afternoon, we're talking about wind gusts of 40 miles per hour and humidity dropping all the way to 15%. It's going to be a rough Labor Day for everybody out there. We have Hurricane Larry, now a Category 3, still sitting way off the Atlantic. Bahamas and Bermuda, they're going to feel the storm surge today. And then as we get into the latter half of the week, we're going to see some swells affect the mid-Atlantic and the East Coast. But hopefully we can turn old Larry off there, and hopefully it doesn't hit Nova Scotia either as a Category 1. But that's something we'll be eyeballing as far as the tropics go. Here in the 4 states, a whole bunch of sunshine for our Labor Day. Get up into the high 80s. We may see a 90 show up every now and then, but they're not going to be widespread. We're also going to be dry. Not a whole lot of rain wants to pop up, and that's because our temperatures stay mild really through most of the week, so we don't have that threat of those afternoon or evening pop-ups. Very nice middle of the week. And look at Friday through Sunday. Heat wave coming back to get us. Enjoy your Labor Day. Enjoy what's shaping up to be a marvelous September week. We'll be right back. Wrap up this edition of the KOAM Morning News right after this.